fan it. Oh, crap.
I like smelling things, like glossy printed books, new electronics, and chlorine on my hands after I've been for a swim. At the same time, there are a lot of things I don't like smelling, things that can make me dead, like various solvents, viruses, and this skull and femur juice. One method to avoid these odours is to use an air purifying respirator. However, these are limited in what they can do because they're still just filtering toxic air. So a better method is to use what they call an Atmosphere Supplying Respirator. This normally involves compressing clean atmosphere into a bottle that you carry around with you. Perfect, but if you're cheap like me and already using a beer carton as a fume extractor, then an affordable alternative would be to bring air from clean atmosphere to your body via a long tube, which is pretty much how you spent the first 9 months of your life anyway. And that's what we're going to be doing today, building an air tube face mask pump thing so I can have air for my face while doing painting and whatever else I do in the shed. If you didn't catch it, in my last video, we jumped into the weird online world of buying snorkel face masks online, and we've picked up a face mask that we're going to use for this project. Alright, so we have our mask. Now, let's work out the rest of the plan. This is what I'm thinking at this stage. So we've got the shed, and that's got bad air in it. Outside, good air. And then here's me. We're going to put a mask there. Then there's going to be a hose and a pump and battery. And then an intake filter of some kind to stop cats pissing into the intake and that going into my face. And dust. There we go. Plan. Let's just do it. Now with our mask on hand, we can remove the snorkel because we don't need that anymore. And we're going to need to adapt a fairly decent size hose onto the top of the snorkel. I wanted something with a wide diameter and fairly strong in case I stand on it in the shed. A hose that fits that description that came to mind was the pool vacuum cleaner hose, which is quite long as well. It's made up of a bunch of different segments and can be shortened or lengthened, which I figured would be pretty handy. I figured the first thing to do would be to see if it can handle my breathing capacity. And it turns out it has about 10 years worth of cobwebs in it, and smelt like sun-perished plastic. The size and strength was about what I was after, so I made the commitment to buying a full 8 metre length of hose that's new and doesn't smell like old chlorine spider gas dust. And then it was time to pop some fresh packaging and get this hose to work. The size was perfect and the strength was better than the old perished plastic hose. It was then time to give it the old breath test. Turns out it makes some pretty cool noises when you blow into it, and you can lay down some sick beats while you're working with fumes. Overall, it wasn't too pricey, but there was added value in the fact that you could turn the front cover into a hat. So the first thing I did was try and find something to adapt to the top of the snorkel mask. It was a weird size, but it turns out a pull fitting, which I'd already repurposed for dust collection on the belt sander, was a perfect fit. Seriously, this is pretty rare in the shed. Let's take a moment to enjoy this. Now, a problem that came to mind early on with this whole concept was that when exhaling, there's a chance that some of the air could be pushed back up through the hose against the flow of the pump, which I might then re-inhale over and over, which would be bad. So I figured we need some kind of valve at the mask end so air only travels in one direction. I thought about using the one that came with the snorkel, but this only works underwater. So we have to make some kind of simple reed valve. These are one of the oldest types of valve used in all sorts of things, like this foot pump, and even in your heart right now, unless you're a robot. So I figured we may be able to make a valve from the neck of a balloon. This would be a bit restrictive, however, if we use multiple balloons, the air should flow nicely. I chopped some of these up to give it a quick test. The air flows through quite easily, then the balloon closes up if you try and inhale through it. Looking at the size of the tube, I reckon we'll get about 3 balloons in there, which should do the trick. I need something to mount them, and now there's also the issue that these two hoses don't fit together because they're a weird size. After a lot of hunting around the shed trying to find something that would fit, I found this old telescope that I had as a kid. I've kept it around because I've used bits of it in the past because it has a variety of weird sized bits of plastic. I'm not a hoarder though. I'm not. You're a hoarder. But it turns out it's a nice, perfect and tight fit. Chop, 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 chop. I measured up the balloons, chopped some plastic to fit, and this is a perfect little foundation for our party valve. This acrylic is pretty brittle, but I managed to get 3 holes out of it. Then I duplicated that to sandwich the balloons together between the bits of plastic. Then it was just a case of polishing it up so we get a nice tight seal. Then this can be pressed into the telescope, and there we go, Crago's special flappy balloon valve. Air goes through easily. It's not perfect, but it stops the majority of the backflowing, which should be enough to get the mask exhalation valve to do the work. Then we connect up our hoses, and we're ready to give it our first test before we put the air pump on.
That's pretty good. That's sitting there nicely on top. It's I can hear the balloon valve. And it smells like balloons. It smells like a birthday party. That's a bit annoying being. Imagine I'll put this on the back, like a belt strap, like that here. And you just have to be, at the moment. Okay, that's a bit of a problem, but that's probably because there's no strap holding it in place. Maybe something like this. That's good. Good head movement. You have to watch out where this is. You're inhaling this like a vacuum. So if I leave it in a pile of dust, that comes in. You can hear the balloon. And you hear me talking down the path. Well, I can't feel any air coming back out, so that's good. Okay, so what am I? But really, that works pretty good as a one-way valve, like just taking air in from this. It'd just be a bit easier and fresher if it's being pumped in. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Just to show the valve working, you can see it with this. So it works. That's good. That's good.
Now we need some kind of pump. I thought about something like a computer fan, but they don't press the air in very well compared to a centrifugal fan like this. Maybe not this one though. This is a bit too big. We use a bit too much power. So I'm thinking about using some kind of small blower like this, which shouldn't be too power hungry and could allow it to run off batteries. Not really sure how much power we should give it, so I tested it out on a 12-volt battery that was going flat. Not too bad. Pretty noisy. But let's try it on a battery that's charged. Okay, yeah, so that was way too much. It even generates its own thrust. This pump was for a kid's toy, and I think it's only meant to be run off 6 volts. So it's probably going to destroy itself. I tried it on 3 volts out of an LED headlamp, and that seemed to be a pretty good speed. It's as noisy as it sounds like a school siren, but it should do the job. The build quality of it was a little bit shitty, so the first job was to pull it apart, seal up some of the air gaps, and make it a little bit more efficient. I also wanted to seal up the impeller side of the pump from the motor side of the pump, so it wouldn't draw in any air over the motor which might bring in oil or ozone or some crap. I've then sealed it up and chucked some wires on. Now this thing just needs something to give it 3 volts instead of 12 volts. Now when you see me do stuff like this, please don't mistake me for someone who actually knows stuff about electronics. I just try stuff, and if it doesn't melt or catch on fire, it's a winner. So maybe don't send me messages like this because I don't know. I'm guessing the answer to this one might be more triangles, just add more of those triangles. So the thing I'm using here works by electricity going in and then different electricity comes out. And that different electricity is 3 volts. I made this guy a little bit bigger because this pump was quite power hungry. However, this gets quite hot. I figured it would be good if it would turn itself off if it gets too hot. Microwaves have a switch inside them that does this, so I used one of those, so if he overheats, it just turns off. Then I don't have to inhale fire. I tested it out, it all seems to be working well. It's running off the battery, so it'll be nice and portable as well. Then it was just a case of cracking out the old telescope to adapt the hose onto the pump. Lots of hot glue, because I'm too impatient for any other glue at the moment. I got the telescope tube all polished up, so it would connect up to the pool hose. It all sealed up well, it's sucking in air, it even swivels as well, which is good. Now the next problem, this is going to inhale a heap of dust and dirt wherever the pump is sitting and send it to my lungs, so we need to make some kind of intake filter. A chewing gum container seems to be the perfect fit to go over the inlet of the pump, and then I thought 2 Coke bottles would be perfect funnel shapes that we can use, and then cut some filter foam to fit inside. I then cut up the Coke bottles to suit, and then figured if I could adapt the lids of the bottles into the chewing gum container, it would have removable filters as well. While I was doing this, Kristen helped out by cutting the foam to suit the bottles. Getting a nice, perfectly centered hole through the lid of a bottle is a bit of a pain in the ass, but we got there in the end. A bit more work with the old hot glue gun, and the bottles have mounted up nicely. Kristen's done an awesome job with the foam, and it slips straight in without any gaps around the edges. Giving it a try, it worked out perfectly. There's no air resistance at all. It tastes a little bit like the washing powder that I used, but it's good, it works. Then the last thing to do for this whole air pump setup is some sort of mounting board to hold it all together and make it nice and neat. I used some wood, chopped that shit up, put some screws in it, then mounted everything down. It all turned out nice and neat in the end. I did a little strap to go around the battery so that doesn't go moving around and banging into the circuit board. And then just by chance, I had an old stainless steel handle that I made up for some sort of marine thing that I made years ago. After that, I was pretty happy with it. It got quite late and a big storm rolled in, so I've left the testing for the next day. Yeah, how's that? That's a nice, snug little unit. Mask.
It's disconnected already.
Alright, so just gonna screw that on. That stays on now. That's not going anywhere.
Okay, it's hard to breathe with no pump on. Belt strap. Yeah. Okay, seriously running out of air now. You can hear the pump reacting as I breathe. Oh yeah, the air's getting fresher now. I guess it takes a bit of time to get down the hose. That's working good. That's actually alright. Ready to go to the shops. Just carry this with me. I can strap it on the front and carry a big loop of hose around with me. The main idea was having this in another room, and then you go into the room where there's the fumes or whatever you're avoiding. Let's bring in a chair with me. Say we're in the shed, and I'm doing some fiberglassing, and there's a lot of fumes. Not anymore. Smells like the hallway. I think I've rested it down near the kids' shoes. They've just come home from school.
So does it work? For what I wanted, which was something to bring in fresh air from outside and deliver it to my face, it does pretty good, especially if I'm going to be working with something that's quite fumy, fiberglassing, something like that, where I don't want to be breathing it in. Seems to do the job. Would it stop viruses? Yes, you leave this in the car, then go into the shops wearing this. This gives you 8 meters of range from your car, so leave that in the driver's seat with the engine running and the air conditioner on. Nice cool face when you go in and pick up your takeaway dinner. Okay, another test. We'll see what Kristen thinks. To test it out, I was thinking we use the fog machine. You do it in the other room to the inlet, and I see how long it takes to get to my face.
Well, it's on already.
I can hear you talk through it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Hello. I'm the man at the end of the mast.
It's so weird.
Oh, it's coming in now, yeah, it's coming in. Ah! Too much.
Is it working?
Yeah.
I can't see.
Neither can I. I got no more.
What's that? I can't hear you.
No more. stop!
This is the best.
Look.
Uh-oh. Fan it. Oh, crap.
After resolving this and clearing the room, it was then time to give it a proper test. We put the pump in the front yard so we could see if the mask would prevent me from detecting any vapour in the room.
Wow. Ah!
Oh, does that burn?
Yeah, don't point it at me.
Sorry.
Ah! Don't point it at me.
I'm glad I'm breathing this in.
Yeah, yeah, it's really bad. Can't smell any. That's a definitive test. That's good, that works. Yeah. It actually works really well. I can't smell any of it. Woo, yeah. That's thick. That's a thick vape. Some fat rips.
To step it up a notch to an entry-level fume hazard, I then tried it out with spray paint. I got sick of the doorknobs in the background of my videos being gold. They are now a shitty silver. But the mask performed perfectly. I didn't detect any paint smell until I took the mask off. I then went out and gave some free neighbourhood house inspections for potentially hazardous or oxygen deficient atmospheres.
I found the problem with your house.
Yeah.
Someone's built a basement. It's full of toxic gas. Few dead bodies in there. Let's clear them out. They've just chucked it in down here. Just forgotten about it, moved out or whatever. Yeah, we can get it fixed up, no worries. No worries.
But then it was time for the ultimate test. Will it prevent me from smelling cat piss on my car?
So, leave a comment with ideas on other ways I can test this out. I might give them a go. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm Craig Turner, YouTube channel is Turner81. I'll catch you later.
Looks all right from this end.